So we have a new update in the case against Donald Trump from E. Jean Carroll. An appeals court upholds a $5 million award in a sexual abuse verdict against President Donald Trump. So back in New York, a federal appeals court on Monday upheld a jury's finding in a civil case that Donald Trump sexually abused a columnist in an upscale department store dressing room in the mid-1990s. The Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals issued a written opinion upholding the $5 million awarded to the Manhattan jury, granted to E. Jean Carroll for defamation and sexual abuse. The longtime magazine columnist had testified in 2023 trial that Trump turned a friendly encounter in spring 1996 into a violent attack after they playfully entered the store's dressing room. Trump skipped the trial after repeatedly denying the attack ever happened, but he briefly testified at a follow-up defamation trial earlier this year that resulted in a $83.3 million award. The second trial resulted from comments then President Trump made in 2019 after Carroll first made the accusations publicly in a memoir. In its ruling, a three-judge panel of the appeals court rejected claims by Trump lawyers that trial Judge Lewis A. Kaplan had made multiple decisions that spoiled the trial, including by permitting two other women who had accused Trump of sexually abusing them to testify. So I'm just mostly going to give my opinion for this video. That this is a somewhat old story, but if you don't know already, this is in relation to the video I made recently about George Stephanopoulos, where he accused Donald Trump of what he wasn't convicted of. We'll say you can go watch that video. I talk about it more there. It's George Stephanopoulos and ABC News had to pay out $15 or $16 million to Donald Trump in relation to this case. So he lost his appeal, and if you ask me, I don't think this case should have been brought. We're talking about a trial in 2023 when this is allegedly had happened in 1996. So almost 30 years on, you now want to accuse a guy. Like, let's just put it out there, right? Maybe it did happen. Well, the jury didn't think it rose to the level of what George Stephanopoulos accused him of. They said it was sexual assault, which can be many different things. But she thought it was worse than that. But she got what she wanted, and Trump was convicted in, I believe, a civil, not a criminal court, which is where most of his lawsuits end up. He's never criminally charged, it seems like. But so two of the other women that were on the stand to testify against Donald Trump, none of them brought charges against Trump. So why is it that they were allowed to testify? If it was the case that something had actually happened between them and Trump, wouldn't you think that more cases would be brought? Like, if there was sufficient enough evidence, don't you think there would be more cases that would be brought? And why is it that you wait till 2023 when he's about to no longer be president? I think the timing is fishy, and it's a he said she said situation. We have this from The Guardian. I'll read a bit here. I was already kind of skimming it. So Donald Trump loses appeal against E. Jean Carroll's sexual abuse verdict. A federal appeals court has upheld the $5 million verdict against Donald Trump for sexually abusing and defaming the magazine writer E. Jean Carroll, dealing a legal setback to the president-elect. The three-judge panel at the Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in Manhattan rejected Trump's arguments for a new trial, ruling the evidence, including testimony from other accusers, as well as the infamous Access Hollywood tape that captured him boasting about how it was normal for him to grab women by the pussy, was properly admitted. The May 2023 verdict found Trump liable for sexually assaulting Carroll in a New York department store dressing room in about 1996, 20 years before winning the first presidency, though the jury stopped short of calling the case a rape. So that was the word I was trying to avoid saying. YouTube doesn't like you saying that. So the verdict included $2.02 million for sexual assault and $2.98 million for defaming Carroll in an October 2022 social media post where he called the allegations a hoax. And if you ask me, I do believe it's a hoax. If you go into her story, which I couldn't find the full thing here, but her story just doesn't make sense. She has zero witnesses. She didn't make a report at the time of the event. Donald Trump owns the building across the street. The building that this is allegedly had taken place in was Bergdorf Bergdorf Goodman, which I probably butchered that name, which is directly across the street from Trump Tower. Now, wouldn't you think that someone would notice Donald Trump? Like, the man has always been famous. You don't have a famous guy entering a department store and abusing a woman just like out in the open like that. I just like, sure, it might have happened. Like, I'm leaving a window of possibility that it happened, but it it just sounds outrageous to me. Like, this wealthy rich man who's married and has kids wants to go and assault you in some dressing room that like you shouldn't have. Like, you guys had a friendly encounter. This is her story. You had a friendly encounter, ended up in the dressing room, and then it got, he took it too far. Like, I don't know, it just sounds weird. And then if you look at E. Jean Carroll's writings, like, she writes all kinds of just weird stuff. So I don't know, she's got quite the imagination is kind of what I'm getting at. So she has quite the imagination, and clearly she found her ticket to becoming more famous than she was. She's a writer. I'm sure she makes tons of money now that she's famous from this Trump trial. But we're talking about almost 30 years on. You should not be able to accuse someone of something so heinous as rape 30 years after it's already like done. Like, I get it, women are scared to report it and stuff like that, but that's the issue, right? Is maybe we would believe you, maybe people would believe you more if you actually gave a shit about yourself and like went and at least made a report. Like, hey, this happened to me, this was terrible. And like, I get it, it's hard to talk about terrible things that happen to you, but you should in the very least make a report and be like, I don't want to talk about it. This happened. I want to make a report, but that's where I'm leaving it. I don't want to talk about it. I need time to process it. You should at least do that for yourself. If you give even the slightest bit of shit about yourself as an adult, I'm not talking about kids, because kids can't, kids get abused and it's hard for them to go and reach out for that kind of stuff and they're scared. But I'm talking about adults. If you're an adult and you get abused, you get assaulted, you hiding that and then bringing it up 30 years on makes it way harder to believe your story. It makes it way harder to take you at face value when you waited 30 years after the event happened. There's no witnesses, and like, Trump denies everything ever happening. It's just like, none of it makes sense. None of it makes sense. This case is just another one of those sham cases they brought against him because they're just trying to throw everything they can at him to see what sticks. This happened to stick just a little bit, but I mean, we have here, they included a testimony, or from the other article, they included the testimony of 2 other women that did not charge him, but accused him of similar acts. And then they also played the clip of him that was going around in 2016, or when was it? It was either 2016 or the second election, the one he lost to Biden. But they were showing that clip around where he was like, yeah, I could just go around and grab women by the pussy, which is a terrible thing for him to say, don't get me wrong, but that should not be admitted as evidence. Like, that's not evidence of anything. Like, you're trying to build like a character around Trump. You're trying to make him out to be a character, right? But that has nothing to do with any evidence. Like, no evidence was admitted in this trial. There was no camera footage. There's no witnesses. No one saw anything happen. She didn't make a report. It's just honestly sad that someone can do this to someone like Trump. I mean, how many stories have we seen throughout the years that just end up falling apart? The story with his taxes, the Russian collusion stuff. Like, there's just so many stories where like the media props it up and then it turns out to be absolute nonsense. So forgive me if I find it hard to believe you when the media props you up and you're able to accuse a man without any evidence after 30 years it happened and you didn't, make a report when it did happen. I thought this article was kind of funny from NBC News. She's not my type, Trump says of E. Jean Carroll, who accused him of sexual assault. So President Donald Trump said Monday this is old. This is back in 2019. So a New York-based advice columnist who has accused him of sexual assaulting her in a New York City department store in the mid-1990s is not his type. I'll say it with great respect. Number 1, she's not my type. Number 2, it never happened. So that was his statement on it back then. So writer E. Jean Carroll has claimed that a friendly encounter with Trump at Bergdorf Goodman in 1995 or 1996 turned violent when the real estate mogul pushed her up against a dressing room wall, unzipped his pants, and forced himself on her. Carrol said that said in a colossal struggle, she pushed him off and ran from the store. So like that, the story just doesn't make sense. There's no witnesses. How did you guys end up in the dressing room together? How did you guys even meet? Like, there's just so much in the story that like it just doesn't make sense. She doesn't have any evidence. I think it's honestly just a sham, and it's really sad. I feel bad because bad stories like this where you wait 30 years on is exactly why it's hard to believe some women sometimes. And it's honestly sad because I wish we could live in a world where if someone made an accusation about something so heinous, we could just be like, damn, that's crazy, that's terrible, yeah, put that man away. But we live in a world where people make up lies about other people so that they can gain clout on the internet and get internet famous and just famous within politics. That she has everything to gain from doing this. It's 30 years on. It's almost 30 years that it happened. I'm almost positive that they changed the statute of limitations in New York just so they could bring this case to Trump, against Trump. Honestly, it's just so stupid. But that's the latest. Hopefully he can further appeal and get a retrial. I feel like just like the other cases that we recently saw dropped in New York, this one also should have been dropped, and it should not have been brought in the first place. This woman, she has I'm pretty sure she writes in her books about having like literal rape fantasies. So she's got quite the imagination when it comes to things that happen in the world. She's just a weird individual, and I'm sure she's made lots of money from this. But that's all my opinion. I have nothing to back that up. So I'm just going off of what we have here, and what we have here is no evidence, and it's a he said, she said, and if I'm going to believe anyone, it's going to believe the president, who's been vindicated on every single issue that has ever come across him. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. If you like the content, please like and share the video. I post daily videos except for Sunday. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. Have a good one.